How are we all doing? I hope you're keeping well out there. So, it's coming up to Christmas time. I decided I wanted to get a bit of time in the shed. So I'm going to do that. I need to tidy up badly. And we've had a few failures in the recent past here. The pie, which for those of you who don't watch the live streams, part 2 of the pie didn't go so well because the new mains transformer melted down. So I'm waiting to get another one. Well, actually I have one, which might be suitable. But it's out with a Sony reel-to-reel tape player. But it's going to involve a bit of re-engineering on the chassis, which I don't really want to be getting into at this time of year. So it says I need to catch up on something I've been meaning to do for a very long time. And that's this little Bush TV62. Now this is a special television and a special time of year. Some of my older viewers may remember that I did a video on one of these. Is it 4 years ago? I'll have to check. But it was coming up to Christmas when we overhauled one of these for the Hurdy-Gurdy Radio Museum out in Hope, which is well worth a visit to anyone interested in vintage electronics, be it radio, television, amateur radio, or that kind of thing. So, and that television is out there on display in working order. And my wife at the time was so impressed with the styling of the television. She said, if we ever get the opportunity, we should get another one of these for ourselves. And indeed that opportunity arose at the NVCF. I think it was 3 years ago. We bought this for small money. I think it was only around £50. And the cabinet is in good condition. Alright, there's one or two little scrapes on it, but there's no cracks. It's solid, and I don't think it's being molested with. But I haven't looked at it. I haven't taken the back off. I haven't done anything with this television in that time. And I thought it would be nice to see if we can make it work for Christmas. So that's what we're going to do. And it should be a nice easy job coming up to Christmas. We're going to do a few other little videos if time allows. But if we could get this to work coming up to Christmas, we'd be happy. We're not going to go into a full nuts and bolts restoration. We just want it to function reliably. And that's the way we're going to approach it. So, for the first time, I'm going to take the back off this and see what I've bought. I think it's a bit late. So I'm looking for a refund now. But for 50 quid, I think it was 50 quid. It was around that anyway. And these were commanding sort of decent money at one stage. Because of their styling was popular with people, and they were sort of seen as maybe a slightly more affordable set compared to the TV62, and also a slightly more practical set as well than the TV62, and you've got a larger screen. So I think this is a 14-inch, whereas the TV22 of course is 9-inch, which, you know, can get a bit tiresome if you're going to be viewing it for any length of time. So whereas these aren't too bad, and the pictures are a bit better on them as well. Focus on that. Put a towel down to try and save the cabinet. Scraping the cabinet off the bench if you can help it. So there's a couple of screws, 4 screws hold the cardboard back on, and the cardboard back also serves as the bottom as well of the set. So it's all one piece, which is kind of handy. So access and serviceability on this set are quite good. They generally don't give too many troubles to the would-be restorer. I've done quite a few of these chassis over the years, and for example, I haven't had any line output transformer failures, touch wood, and the CRTs have all been good as well, which helps. So yeah, they don't give too many problems. They're fairly reliable. I used what is the slightly earlier console set with the 17-inch tube being a TV53 or 56, I used as my main television for quite a while, a number of years ago, and after initial restoration it was faultless in that time. I think I used it for maybe 2 years as a main set. Did one line output valve in that time, but that would be allowed. But other than that, one thing that can give trouble, actually, I should say, there is a sticky point on these. There always is. The little flywheel sync transformer can give problems. So there's not really a lot you can do with that other than have it rewound. So that is something to look out for, alright. But as I say, there's not really a whole lot you can do about that. If it fails. Tuners in here. These were the first television by Bush to have a 13 channel VHF tuner. So these were the first lot made for ITV when they came out. And yeah, I'm right in saying that, I think so. And yeah, they work quite well. So let's get the camera over, have a good look inside. I apologise for my shoddy camera work as usual. However, it's the content that's important. So, squinting into the hole, a little bit of green corrosion on him. It has been, I think it has been subjected to a bit of dampness in the past. But I've seen far worse than this. Plenty of wax capacitors, some of which will be replaced, not all. And as a PCL83 for the sound output valve and the frame output valve, a horrible little valve, which we don't like. And one thing that I have had on these chassis is that I've never really been able to get a whole lot of height out of the frame output. Just about make it. However, our initial inspection tonight anyway, we'll see how we get on. We're not going to try and power up tonight, I don't think. I'm just putting this out there because what I want to do is, and I've discussed this in the past when approaching a television of this vintage, is to dry out the line output valve, or sorry, line output transformer with DC current. And we'll get into that. Now, luckily, and nice to have, the cover over the line output area. This is often missing. The sticker has always melted on these as well. We have some printouts that someone made, replicas for the TV62, so we might stick them on it. Doesn't really matter because no one can see in there anyway. The other thing to watch out for is the wiring. Now, this one luckily has PVC wiring in it. The earlier ones did not. They had rubber wiring, and it of course cracks and goes bad, etc., which isn't good. So what are we looking at in here? Lots of thick dust, looks like coal dust, but underneath, now of course it is an aluminium chassis, so it's not going to rust, but it hasn't corroded either. On the RF deck though, it is a steel chassis, and a little bit of surface rust, nothing too bad. Am I going to go to the effort of stripping this complete chassis and painting it and all that? No, I am not. We see that we have the later, this an EY87. The earlier ones had a wire end of the EY51 EHT valve, so it's nice to have this later one with the plug-in valve. They're a little bit better too. This is very similar to the earlier chassis, as I mentioned, the TV53 series. It's more or less the same, except for instead of a magnetically focused tube, this is electrostatic focus on this. And so there's, it's modified to suit. But other than that, it's the same. And a very reliable chassis. So, this is the video coming up to the tube. Everything is, that's rubber coated wire in there. Oh dear. Rubber coated wiring on coming from there, but only a little crack. Let's hope we can get them out. It's nice that everything unplugs and is handy from a servicing point of view. And of course with this cabinet we can get underneath as well. With a flipped up on its side, so they're handy to work on. Things we'll need to do, probably clean the tuner, take the cover off the tuner, clean the contacts. They do go dirty. Even the line output transformer is quite easy to replace on these. Oh, these disc capacitors give trouble. I've had to replace these before for leaking. And we see we have the width setting here is done with this tap. There's 2 wire round resistors on the back. And I see it's set for the widest setting. Width was never spectacular on these either. Just about makes it. Line output valve looks original. Boost diode looks original. These are the rectifiers coming in off the mains. Let's see. This is the line oscillator valve, which is an ECC82. That has been replaced at some stage with a Pinnacle branded valve. Frame output valve looks original. Sound output valve looks, so everything looks, I don't think this has had a whole lot of work done to it at all. So an interesting little set. So what I'm going to do is, I'll demonstrate this to you now, and then it's going to be left in this state for a couple of days, because we want to make sure that our line output transformer survives. I see this one, the EHT overwind, which is pile wound, is encapsulated in wax. The earlier ones didn't have any encapsulation at all on them. You will see here I have a bench power supply. Can that be seen on the camera? It can, yes. We want to warm up the inside of the line output transformer. Now there's lots of debate online about this, and some people say take the transformer out and put it in an airing cupboard for a couple of days. Okay, on this chassis it's very easy to remove the output transformer. You just undo these 2 screws here, take that out, disconnect the EHT, undo the 2 valves, and this transformer actually just lifts out. It's very, very well laid out. However, that's not so easy in a lot of televisions. The other thing is, what happens is that inside the windings of the transformer absorbs moisture over years of inactivity. So when the television was in use, this wouldn't have been a problem, because it would have been getting cycled every day or so, warming up for half an hour or an hour or 3 hours, and it would get hot and drive all the moisture out. But this television has not been used in a very long time. I should imagine, well, the last of the 405 went off in 84, 85. And it's unlikely this was still in use even up to then. So we could say that this television probably hasn't been used since the 60s. That's 60 years ago. So 60 years of soaking in damp will not be dried out by being stuck in an airing cupboard for a few days. But if we can heat up the transformer from the inside out, it will drive the moisture out. And that's exactly what this method does. And it's a method that I wish I knew about earlier on. I was not the inventor of this method. A couple of people were, but one of the main proponents of this method was David Boyens, a famous television engineer from Newcastle who restores televisions professionally. And he came up with this method because what was happening is people, including himself, were restoring televisions, and then television would be working perfectly, but they would run into trouble with the width coming in after, say, half an hour. And it turned out that this was the dampness in the EHT overwind acting as a shorted turn around the core of the transformer, loading down the line output stage. And of course, left in this state for any length of time, the line output transformer would overheat, and the insulation would break down and it would fail. But if we can dry all that dampness out, this won't happen. So that's what the aim of the game is. So how to do this? Well, what we do is we get our bench power supply, and we go from the anode connection of the line output valve and the EHT rectifier. So we're going through the primary and overwind of the EHT transformer. Now, because I've read recently people are saying that this method does, whilst it dries out the overwind, it does nothing for the primary winding. But that's not the case, because the current goes through there too. And not only that, the core of the transformer on which it is wound heats up as well. So that's going to help as well. So it does actually, in my opinion, dry out both windings. What we're looking to do here is only dissipate a couple of watts of heat in the line output transformer. So you're aiming for maybe 3 or 4 watts. So what you're looking for is to just have the transformer, that the EHT overwind is just warm to the touch. We're talking maybe 20-25 degrees. No more, because you might stress it then and that wouldn't be good either. You just want to warm it up a little bit. Leave it like that for a couple of days and it will dry out nicely. And that's what we're going to do. So we will disconnect this. Now, to be quite honest, we don't have to disconnect this either. It doesn't matter. Because it's not on. That's odd that that's loose. The cover is loose. The other thing that's loose is I'll have to look into that. I think that's the line linearity. Anyway, I'll tell you what, instead of going near that, I'll put the crocodile clip onto that. Right, okay. So, go on here. Go on here. No, I'll have to take it off the valve. Of course, that is stuck solid. Oh, that's been replaced too. EY87. Right, we're on there. Now, bench power supply just in view. Turn off the current limiting. Probably looking for about 30 milliamps, I think. 45 milliamps at 12 volts. So we have 12.5 volts at about 34 milliamps. And that's going to give us about 4 watts being dissipated in the transformer. That should just warm it up nicely. So if it's left like this for a couple of days, it should certainly dry out nice. And I think we'll run it up in the Verdiac then nice and slowly and see what happens next. We'll let the television tell us what's wrong with it for this exercise. So that's about it for now. There's not much more I can do out here with this. So for now, I'll say I'll catch you in the next one, and take care out there. Bye bye.